Okay, hello everybody. Thanks for joining today. Today's session is all about Dynamics 365 for talent, and our presenter is someone who many of you are probably familiar with. He is, he's Stefano Tempesta. He has been a contributor here at MS Dynamics World for the last couple of years and been a real popular presenter and author for us. You probably also seen him if you've attended a variety of different events from the UG Summits to the 365 Saturday events to others for SharePoint and even more. It's great to have him back today, and I'm going to be handing things off to him in just a moment. I do want to just remind folks we do want your questions and to keep this session interactive. So please enter your questions into the Q&A block. You should see to the right side of the main presentation area. If you don't see the Q&A block, look for the question mark icon in the upper right, and that will enable it if you don't already see it opened up. So without any further delay, I'm going to hand things off to Stefano to get us started.
Thanks, Jason. Hi, everybody. And thanks for being here today. I've been playing with Dynamics 365 for Talent for some time now. My background is in education. I've been working in this industry for several years, really, and with different platforms, obviously, and more recently with talent. Now, speaking about talent will take really hours and hours. So I try to identify a few modules, a few areas to focus today, and try to get you through the feelings of what is the Dynamics 365 for Talent offering by Microsoft, where it sits in the family of Dynamics 365. We'll focus on some activities like the attracting new employees to an organization and the onboarding process. There is much more that Dynamics for Talent can do. And I spend also a few minutes on the technical part of it. What are the system requirements for running talent in your organization? So this is the overall talent experience in Dynamics 365. It's really embracing the HR processes from the attract experience, which is basically the phase before the recruitment process itself, strong integration with LinkedIn in there, obviously, and then going through onboarding process, which is part of everything around the candidate itself. And once the candidate becomes an employee, once they receive an offer to join the organization, different activities of employees and self-service, placing the employee within the organization structure, performance and talent management, succession, compensation, everything around their development path. All of it is in one tool, Talent, for Dynamics 365. And as we appreciate of the Dynamics 365 family, all these modules are all seamlessly connected to each other. And they're based on the common data model. We'll spend some words about it. So we can share easily information also with other members of the Dynamics 365 family, like CRM, operations, if needed, obviously. So all this information becomes a bit of our intelligence, our data set for building analytics on top of the previously candidate and then employee. Now, briefly about myself, Jason has done a really good introduction, some social coordinates on screen if you want to get in touch. I'm a chapter leader for CRM UG in Switzerland. I'm a Microsoft MVP, and as Jason said, I like to present share experiences about Dynamics and other Microsoft technologies in different conferences I'll be speaking at the CLMUG Summit here in Dublin. So if you are around, please come and say hello. And I'm involved in a number of 365 Saturdays around the world. So that's all about myself. Let's get started. Now, there are some core or key capabilities in talent that I would like to go through with you before jumping also in some live demo so we can actually see the product in action. Said we start embracing employees before they are actually employees, so before they join our organization. So the hire module is something that is strongly connected to the LinkedIn experience, and this is a natural evolution of the acquisition, right, that Microsoft made of LinkedIn, I think it's already a couple of years ago. So then we can have basically the possibility to create job description, select candidates that match best the skills or the requirements of the jobs, and then automate the entire process of onboarding, sorry, not of recruiting, hiring candidates. We'll have a quick demo of this capability that is called Attract, which is really what it does, what is the word for, attracting new talent and new candidates to our organization. Following the recruitment phase, then we have the onboarding. So at this stage, we have made an offer, the candidate has accepted the offer, it's time to onboard the candidate into our organization. Now, onboarding starts even before the start date. So it's a process called pre-boarding. And this module, the onboard module within Talent, supports both capabilities. It's a task list, is a welcome guide, is a number of, is a tool for managing the pre-boarding, the onboarding experience, and transitioning a candidate into from the hiring process into the company with as much information as they need to have from day one. Now, these two modules is what we'll focus mainly today, given the time. If there is an interest for knowing more and more about talent, please let us know, Jason and myself, so that we can obviously program some more activities around talent. Just to give you an overview, as the onboarding is complete, you are now a full-time employee, you are working into the organization for some time, it's time for performance review, right? It always happens. And it may be a painful moment. What Talent offers is a journal of activities that the employee performs along their employment into the organization, so performance journals that collect feedback at any time towards specific goals. If you think of it, this is really a life and time saver for the employee and for the manager reviewing the performance. I'm involved in performance reviews myself as a manager and as a direct report. And I always find challenging to try to remember all my activities, what I've done better, what I could have improved, in what I excel at for the last 6 months, or whatever your performance review is. A performance journal will actually help tracking all your achievements, even on a daily basis, and then facilitate the conversation with your reviewer. There are different ways of doing a review as well, which are based on a direct line manager to report. There is a 360 peer review and other formats that the tool support as well. Now, it's not only about performance review, it's also about developing the capacity of the employee so that they perform at their best. So it is, the tool supports a very granular development or career path that is based on jobs, job positions, roles, and objectives, goals. Now, we all probably know about a SMART goal, right? So a goal that is specific, is measurable, is time-bound, attainable, and so on. That's exactly what the tool supports. The possibility to define SMART goals, measure progress with the journal and with key indicators, and associate activities that help to develop that goal. It can be a training opportunity, so there is a kind of a learning management system for online training and instructor classroom-based training. There are tasks, activities that the employee is expected to perform, anything that help to achieve a specific goal. And they are all tailored to the role, so that, and even down to the individual. So not any single development path is the same as another one. You start from a template, you tailor to the employee themselves. And as said, all this information is collected into the system, is in one single environment, so there are no different databases or no different user interfaces. It's all really a seamless integration among all these modules. So that helps obviously HR administrator to improve the reporting requirements. They can analyze whether employees are in compliance with some certification requirement. They can track cost. There is a lot that the power of dynamic CRM as a platform, and you can imagine Power BI on top of it can offer. And lastly, well, this is more of from a messaging perspective, this can give manager and employees really a single location, a single place for managing their career path. As a HR manager, you may be working with different systems. You may have a tool for the recruitment, another tool for the learning management system, something else for performance, talent, succession, another tool connected to payroll for compensation. Well, the good news here is that everything is in talent, including compensation. You can attach compensation to performance or to your positions in terms of seniority and so on. So there are rules that can be defined. So in this way, you can really proactively maintain all the employees' profile, set goals, track performance, manage the entire career path in one single tool. And because it is in one single tool, then obviously we have the possibility to see not only the single employee, their career path, their performance, and so on. But we can drill this up to their team or to their department, to their organization, and they create also some optimization in terms of workforce cost for, or streamlining processes or creating views of comparison between cost for a department against another one, or performance of a department against another one. And you can define which level of detail you want to go. So it is the employee, is the person at the center, but then because it's part of an organization structure, and you define this organization structure in the tool, then you have the possibility to gather, to group together this information at different levels. And this is absolutely beneficial in terms of compliance. is not just the compliance of one employee to see if they are certified and their certification is still in effect, but it's also compliance to global regulation of the entire team, the entire department, and so on. All right, this is a screenshot of the tool. Let me just jump off the slide and get into talent so we can appreciate the user experience and see the modules, and then I will demo the attract and the onboard a bit later so we can see also how they look like in action. So off the slide, let me get into the browser. So this is my dashboard. I'm, well, in this case, I'm really a super HR manager. I'm sure that everybody has, any organization has a super HR manager that can manage all the processes, or maybe not. This is really up to you. In this case, I am, and I can see everything on my dashboard, from attract to compliance, leave absence, managing benefit, managing employee development, but also I can see system administration, organizational administration, and so on. Now, these modules will be either visible or hidden depending on your permissions. So you can set different roles as in talent, as in Dynamics 365 security roles, where you can set what kind of modules an administrator can see, and obviously that will determine also the permissions on the system. This dashboard is also accessible from the left-hand side. Let me zoom in a bit just to make it a bit better. And you see here on the left-hand side, we have the full list of the modules that are available in the system, where we can manage people, we can manage the employee self-service, and so on. I'll give you a moment to have a look, just to appreciate the broad support of the different HR processes that can be implemented in talent. And today, as I said, we'll focus on the attract and onboard module from a live perspective. I think it's also beneficial to have a look at the employee self-service for a moment. So let me zoom out a bit, open the employee self-service. Let me see if this is opening. There we go. Come on. No? Now, please wait. We are processing your request. Okay. All right, it's going a bit slow. Here we go. All right. Okay. So, as an employee, I have access to a number of information related to myself. Ooh, it's refreshing. Here we go. So I can see, let me zoom in again here. I can see tasks that are assigned to me, courses and certificates, when is my next appraisal review, my performance goals, if I have any skills, my compensation, and so on. I can also do some activities. I can request some time off. I can see my benefits, and I can see my performance journal, which is what I mentioned. Actually, let's have a look in a moment to the performance journal. You see, we always get a message, I'm thinking about it. I will speak about the performance as in system performance of talent a bit later in the slide. Something to keep in mind when you're deploying the system. And as you can see here, there are some activities that I've submitted or my manager has submitted, and the date when they've been tracked, so they can help tracking progress against some specific goals. It's really a journal, so it helps memorizing all these activities as I deliver them, rather than trying to remember everything that happened in the last 6 months or 3 months or sometimes even a year when my performance review is due. And we are all human. We try to remember the good things and always what happened in the last month or so, and we tend to forget what happened far behind the past. And that is a bit of a pity because technology is there and can help to keep track of all this information properly. All right, so now the attract module is something that happens, as said, during the recruitment phase, something that happens before. Let me spend a few words about it as well, because it is a module that is offered to the candidate. So the candidate doesn't have an account into Talent, but can still interact with Talent even before they are part of the organization. Now, if you were wondering from a licensing perspective, what is required? Well, each employee in the organization is part of Talent as a user of the organization. So in order to collect their performance, to assign their benefit, to track leave and absence. So basically, in order to be part of this organization and be in Talent, they have to be part of the Active Directory that is associated, that is used by Talent. But this doesn't apply to candidates, because obviously we may receive thousands of candidates and we don't want to track them in Active Directory. So this is what Attract does. Connect external candidates that are not in the organizational structure yet to Talent. So it is really a candidate experience. It is a module that basically defines a number of milestones as part of the process, and these milestones define the activities that are performed by the manager and the candidate when interacting during the recruitment process. These are called touch points. And the touch points from the candidate perspective are really the application. Then you may want to send an assessment, defining when they are ready for an interview. The interview is scheduled, and then you take a decision. This is what typically happens during a recruitment process. So, at any time, the candidate and the hiring manager can check the application status, obviously, and see where the candidate fits in any of these stages. So let's have a look at this together. I have recorded this because it takes a bit of time to prepare it. The candidate receives an email. From the email, they access the dynamics.com, the talent.dynamics.com system, but they don't need to be logged in. It's completely a personal experience. So, I mean, they don't need an account in the tool. Then they receive some information. There are some documents, there is a description of the process, and so on. So then, once they apply, the hiring manager review the application and then move into the next touch point of the process itself. So the hiring manager works in Talent. The candidate works over email, and then they click on the link and they open a dashboard. So now, hey, that's my confirmation. This is my assessment that my manager or hiring manager has submitted. Let's open and fill in and answer the gaps. Now, this is a very simple one that I built very quickly. Are you more of a cat person, dog person, blah, blah, blah. So obviously it is only radio buttons, but we can do much more than that. The tool can offer matching questions, check boxes, and a lot of different options. Once submitted, the hiring manager can review these questionnaire basically, and then they can move the candidate forward into the next stage of the interview process. Again, the hiring manager works in the system, and let me pause this a moment, and the candidate works through an email in the browser. In this case, the application is asking to submit the interview availability. The manager has prepared a few options, and the candidate is saying, okay, I'm available in these dates. So then they submit their availability, and this will go back to the hiring manager again, the hiring manager access this information in talent, and then they can go through the next stage, which will be probably meeting face-to-face and eventually making an offer for the right candidate. Okay. Oops. Here we go. So, any questions about this before we move into the next stage? I saw there was something in the question. Let me just get this. Each employee is user of organization. This means each user should be Dynamics user or not? Yes, they have to be Dynamics user. Also because they do access Dynamics. Let me show this again. So as a regular employee, once I'm on board, I access my employee self-service, for example. So I can make a request. So if I go back to my employee self-service, I can make a request for time off, request time off, or can make a request for some training, education. So I'm part of the organization. So I am a Dynamics user. Yes, as it is.
And
So this is, yep.
Stefano, there was another question you might not have seen. Asking is, asking what the link is between what you were showing and a development plan.
The link with the development plan.
Or with a development plan, perhaps.
Yes, okay. So what I was showing in the recording, the video, is the attract module, and that is before an employee joins the organization. Once they are part of the organization, then you can build one or more development plan according to their goals. So you can define goals, and then for each goal you define the development path, which is if they have to attend any training, if they have to do any certification or any specific task. So the link is employee to any or more development plans depending on the goals, and a goal depends also on the organization. So then you need to define the organization structure. There are different job positions, different roles, and that will define your goals. So let me just briefly, otherwise it will disrupt a bit the flow, but if I show you this organization administration, in the organization administration, you define all the job positions, you define all the roles, and then for each role you define, and for each employee that has a role, you define their goal. I did some recording because I must admit it takes some time to go through several processes, and the tool is not super fast. Let me say this softly, okay? I will go to some system requirements later. But yes, there are some areas that don't demo very well in a short time because it takes some time to prepare. But I don't want to discourage anybody here. Is really that you can't improvise an entire HR process in a few minutes. In this case, let me zoom in a bit. You can see this is my organization structure. So I can define position, I can define jobs, I can define tasks, I can define functions, departments, and legal entities, teams. So all of these are aggregation of user or employees in the organization. And then for each employee, I can set goals, and for each goal, I can set the development tasks. All right, let me carry on now. I have a list that I made out of my experience overall, what I really like about talent, and we'll share with you because, I try to identify a few points that I believe are significant in talent comparing to other systems that are a bit disconnected in some way. And the first one that I like, also because I'm coming from a technical background, is really it's architecture. It is a standalone application, so you don't need the CRM module or the operations module, AX or anything else. It can just work on its own. It doesn't require any other Dynamics 365 apps, but it does integrate with the other apps through the common data model. So this is what I like, that in one system you have everything to manage the HR processes end to end, but at the same time, you don't need to work with the other Dynamics 365 modules. If you want to, it is possible. Now, pertinent to the question before, if a user, if an employee is a Dynamics user, they are, because there is the employee self-service, and this is a good thing, in my opinion, because you can really delegate a lot of this capability to the employee themselves. So they can actually manage the information. As a manager, or as a line manager or HR manager, you can always verify and you can give different level of permissions. But the employee self-service is really there for the employee. First of all, to see in a dashboard where they are in the organization in terms of overall development plan, career path, and so on. But also to make requests. So you don't need an external tool for leave requests. You don't need an external intranet for list of benefit. It's all in there. Now, you can manage all the positions. So the personnel management is what we have briefly seen. You have positions, you have job roles, you have anything. But what is more important, you can manage also the transition from one position to another one. What is called a succession plan. You define, you can identify talents within the organization before advertising a vacancy outside. And this is done by matching skills. It's a kind of skill matrix where you have all the employees with their skills and their current level of ownership of the skill. And then you have the requirement for the role, and the tool will make this comparison, identify all the employees that match or they're close to the skills required for the new role, and if you want, you can offer the position to them rather than looking for outside. It's a great tool for emerging hidden talent within an organization, especially in large organizations where you don't have visibility on the entire workforce. And this is strongly connected to the employee self-service as well. Sometimes we forget that employees have other talents that are not necessarily closely related to the task and goals within the department, but as part of my self-service, I can still enter. So for example, I live in Switzerland and I might say, hey, my skill set I can add, I speak German, or I'm Italian, I speak Italian. So then it's not related to my job. There is no requirement in my job to speak Italian, but suddenly there is a new sales role in Italy, and they're looking for Italian-speaking people that will take the role. Why looking outside if they have someone internally that potentially match the requirements? Okay, moving along. Task management. We have so many tools for managing tasks, from Outlook to SharePoint, to Planner. Now there are so many applications that manage tasks, and there is no one single place to look at all the tasks together. And especially from an HR perspective, managing tasks like there is a performance review, there is some deadlines for requesting benefits or for leave requests that have to be done by the end of the year or so on. There are so many activities that need to be entered into the system and then duplicated into the task management tool. And this is one tool basically. As an HR manager, I enter all these deadlines and then they are automatically propagated to the user and they can see in their Outlook without entering any other without entering this task in any other system. Leave absence, this is, if you are familiar with the HR module in AX, this is another area that has been completely redesigned, has been revamped, but taking the inspiration from the HR solution. So you have, again, in one tool, the possibility to manage all the type of leave and absence, as well also benefit and compensation. So they all come together. They are attached to payroll. So if you take unpaid leave, that will be connected to payroll and reflected automatically. If you get a bonus or a salary increase, this is connected to payroll and so on. We mentioned briefly about the career path or the development plan in general. This is a strong feature of talent, the possibility to do any form of development, well, any different forms of employee development, as said, attached in order to develop the skills required to complete a goal that is part of the definition of their job role and their position. So this can be done in the form of learning, so can manage courses, can manage instructors, can manage rooms, online or offline. You can attach some evaluation questionnaires, some feedback forms, you can attach some materials. So there is a nice way of organizing all the learning activities online and instructor-led. Now, only for the US at the moment, we can manage I-9 compliance. And so this is a specific process for valid in the United States, and any level of certification that the employees acquire will be analyzed against the I-9 requirements. And again, in terms of compliance, using certification is an excellent way of seeing whether an employee or their team or their department is in compliance or not against specific regulation. You can create your own set of certification. So the I-9 is a pre-built one. If you're not in the US or if you don't need I-9 compliance, then you will be needed to build your own set of certifications, basically. In terms of business processes, now this is something again that there are a lot of tools for managing different type of processes, and Talent offers this in one single place. Even something that is not strictly HR related, but we can have audits, we can have something around injury, illness, fire, compliance. So any process that is in some way going towards HR, meaning not job related, it can be managed into the tool. And it works in the exact way as any other business process in CRM, in AX, and so on. So you can define business rules, you can define the different statuses. So it is a tool that Talent has the same user experience as the other members of the Dynamics family. Last but not least, attract and onboard. Attract is what I showed in the recorded video. It is this interaction between the candidate and the recruiter. It connects into LinkedIn, so they can post all the jobs into LinkedIn, collect the candidates from there, and then start interacting over email. And as we have briefly seen in the video, the candidate doesn't need to access doesn't need an account into Talent. They basically interact with an email and a browser. Onboard is the next one I want to show. Is basically once you receive an offer and you have accepted the offer, then we set a start date and we can start the onboarding process even before you join the organization as a form of pre-boarding. And this translates into a number of activities or welcome guides or connecting with relevant people that will help you from day one and potentially even before getting into the organization and being effective straight away. So we'll see that in a moment. On board, off the slide, back into the browser and going to the onboard module down here. Let me zoom in a bit this one because it's very small probably. Okay, onboard module. It's thinking. All right, so what can we do in the onboard module? We can create some welcome guides. All right, view later. As a welcome guide, I can define some content, some activities that I can do. I can start from existing welcome guides. There are some welcome guides for an account manager, for a project manager, for a purchasing manager, and so on. I can create my own template. I don't have any, but I can create my own template and then reuse over time. And obviously, I can start with a new welcome guide. Now, for some reason, the tool allows me to import from Excel. I don't like it. This is purely personal taste. So you basically have an Excel template, then you fill in the template and then upload it. I guess they've done this to work offline because now you need to be in the browser and you need to fill in this guide in the browser. In Excel, you can download it, you don't need to be connected, and then you can work it offline, and when you're ready, you can upload it. Never mind. Feel free to give it a try. I prefer really to work in the browser, also because you'll see in 15 seconds, the user interface is beautiful. I really like it. It's so easy to use. So why bothering using Excel? But again, personal feeling. Now, choose who you want to onboard. I don't have too many users here, so I'm going to send this to myself. And I'm joining this organization from the 1st of March. Done. So now this is creating a new welcome guide. And as you can see, it's a simple browser where I can basically create an introduction and say, hey, welcome to, let's call it this CRM talent. And then here, well, enter an open message and you can write anything you would like to and have a bit of information about the user. Use the sample, we'll say, hey, fill in some random message that is coming from some samples in the system. These guides include a lot of activities, contact, resources, and so on. Okay, let's move into the activities now. Here I can add, and you can see it's a simple drag and drop, different activities that I can build. I can do a background check. Here it is. I can do, hey, check out your first project, meet your new mentor, learn about the mission of the organization, and obviously I can say, yeah, this one probably is a bit more important. Let's put in here, and your first project will be after your mentor, and then I can expand, and I can again put something inside and say, our mission is, and I can write conquer the world. And then I can say a due date, and if you need help, contact this person. And these are all activities that I can define. Now, look at the add-in. The add-ins allows to embed a YouTube video or a Sway. Do you know Sway, right? Sway is not very popular, but I really like it. It's this online design tool, part of Office 365, for designing interactive cards, the content of any type that you want to publish in a very nice format. Give it a try if you haven't yet. I particularly like it. You can really define some nice activity. Obviously, Zwei as well as, what is it, YouTube, they have a URL, so then you work in, you publish in YouTube, you publish in Zwei, and then you have to put the URL in there. And with that, let me actually remove this for now. You can do a power-ups, and you can also add a Microsoft Stream in there. So you build, these are the add-ins that are available for now. I assume more and more applications will be added here in the list, so you can also embed other in the future. Once you're done with the activities, then you may want to create a list of contacts. So basically teammates or other mentors, they say onboarding buddies, admins, IT people. Don't forget the IT people. It's always important. You join an organization, you enter in panic. How do I print something? How do I connect to the network? So connect your new hire to IT. So then you just want to list all the people, add a new contact, and then they will come up in here in the list. And last but not the least, you may want to add some standalone resources, files, maps, whatever is not an activity. So an activity is something the employee is expected to complete, expected to watch the video, expected to read our missions, our values, and so on. Resources is something that you want to share as a file, as a link to an external resources, and that's it basically. You just assign and make it available to the employee as part of their onboarding process. And obviously you want to preview this, and this is how it looks like as an employee when that you start and say, hey, these are my activities, this is all the expected tasks that they have to complete, this is done, mark as complete, and carry on. Nice reminder when an employee starts everything they are expected to do. Okay, so I promised you something about technical details. Let's start from the integration side. I've already told you a couple of times, so let me repeat myself again. Talent is part of Dynamics 365 family, so it can benefit of the entire app stack, which includes, starting from the bottom, Microsoft Flow, for example. So you can build workflows that run outside of Talent and integrate with a lot of other systems that Flow supports. It's funny, I was doing a presentation of Flow just a few days ago, and I was looking how many connectors they have. The first time I started working with Flow was, I don't know, 9, 12 months ago, and there were 90-ish connectors, which are really a good number to start with. A few days ago, I went through the list of connectors, 172. So massive number of connectors. You can connect any application. So you can have files in Box or in OneDrive. You can have any resources connected to anywhere else, and you can put them all together into one workflow integrated with Talent using Flow. And because because Talent stores this information in its own database, obviously, but which is exposed through a common data service, this kind of common model of data and integration services that are part of the Dynamics 365 family, then you can see this information from anywhere in Flow or on mobile apps, for example, using Power Apps. So Power Apps can build some nice forms, some nice applications on top of the common data model and make this information that we have in Talent available also outside of Talent itself. Obviously, there is integration with Office 365. Users are part of the same Active Directory, so they don't need another account. It's the same account. They can then jump into Sway, as we said, but also SharePoint, also Word Online, Excel Online, and so on. Everything in terms of data is in there, in one repository. We can build any BI dashboard, and clearly there is an integration, a module for Power BI to extract this information and displaying it, and obviously app source as in the marketplace for sharing, for promoting any other apps that will leverage the capability of integration of Talent. It's basically citizen, a first-class citizen in Dynamics 365. So if you want to get started, obviously, spin off a trial. Trials.dynamics.com is the best way to have a try. If you already have a license of Dynamics for any other module, it will be added to your current tenant, and then you can have a look from there and benefit already of your user base. And for more information in terms of documentation, any form of guides, several videos also for how to do some stuff, dynamics.microsoft.com/talent is your starting point. System requirements. I've been cheating a bit, as you have seen, moving quickly in the browser, and my data set is not that large. It contains just a few users, a few records, and I also have recorded some of the demo for mainly for performance reasons. So we need to be honest here, right? This is why we are doing these webinars. There are some requirements in terms of browsers that you need to meet, and some in terms of a network in order to access Talent. So the one that you see on screen, and obviously the slides are available for download later. Microsoft Edge is supported, Internet 11, Internet Explorer 11, and not 10. Chrome and Safari should be fine on different platforms. Network requirements. So Talent is designed for network of a latency of 250 to 300 milliseconds or less, obviously. It's not difficult to get this latency in good networks, but you may want to test your network before committing to Dynamics 365. AzureSpeed.com is a good tool for testing your connectivity in terms of speed to Talent. In terms of bandwidth, most typical scenarios require a bandwidth of dedicated 50 kilobytes per second, which again is average, is not that bad. But if you're running on shared networks and don't allocate enough bandwidth to Dynamics, it may tend to slip a bit. I mean, HR processes are not real-time processes, right? So we can wait a few seconds before a page opens. You don't want to push it too much, but keep in mind. Now, again, I don't want to discourage anybody. I'm sure the system will improve over time, but Microsoft made it clear there are some network requirements that have to be met to have an enjoyable experience of Talent. Software requirements, obviously everything runs in the browser, but if you're running the Excel or Word add-ins, only Office 2016. If you want to do editing, if you are only viewing documents, read-only, any Office basically, since Office 2007. So I think everything will be fine. Talent is a cloud offering. There is no Talent on premises, so there is no server that you can install like for CRM or for AX. So obviously you always work with the latest version, and all the updates are automatically applied by Microsoft. So if there is anything that doesn't work or something, it is in the roadmap, it is a rollout as part of the continuous development of the tool, you don't even notice, it will just be applied automatically. I believe you may aware that there is a public roadmap. If not, let me show it to you. You go to roadmapdynamics.com, and then you can see the public roadmap of all the Dynamics 365 products. So just go in here, filter by talent, and that will basically show what is Microsoft working on at the moment. So for example, talent integration to global payroll, a bit of description, and that will tell you the following countries will be supported initially, and so on. Additional country support is planned, etc., etc. So this is the public roadmap, what is in development, and what is being previously released for all the tools, all the family members of Dynamics 365. And let me finish this off. So here it is, that's the slide with the roadmap. That's it really. We are at the end. I think pretty much on time for what I could show in this hour. Any question we can collect now, and then I'm happy to to follow up on any additional requests that you may have. Feel free to connect with me on Twitter, on LinkedIn, as I normally joke about it. If you like this presentation, tweet about it. If you didn't like, send me a private message on LinkedIn and we'll talk about it.
Thanks, Stefano. And we do have quite a few questions coming in. Do you have time to stay beyond the end of the hour?
No. Let's carry on.
Okay. So I guess a couple of broad questions first. There's a few people requesting access to the slides.
Sure.
Do you have a way to? Do you want to handle that? Maybe share a link after the session or something
I will.
like that.
Yep.
Okay, great. Next question from earlier, and quite a few have come in here. But just asking, is everything that you showed today production released functionality?
Yes, it is. Yep, it is. And everything is on the roadmap.dynamics.com, but everything I show is production. Yeah, I didn't show anything that is in preview. No, but it's a good question, because as a Microsoft MVP, I have access to some insider or preview version sometimes, and I may be presenting something that is not available. This is available. And in the US also there's a government cloud that may be different from the public cloud. In this case, there is no difference. So whatever I show today is also in the government cloud.
Okay, and I know you touched on this, but just to confirm, common data model is being used as the database for talent, is that right?
Yes, so, well, obviously, Talent as any other module in 365 is on database, but then the common data model expose this to the rest of the world. So whenever you're using Power Apps or Flow, you connect to the common data model, which is an abstraction on top of the actual database.
Okay. Okay, so that is, and that is, I think, slightly different than, or that answers the question more specifically.
Okay.
Several questions about various sort of links and connections. Can you talk about the connection between, I'm sorry, the screen's jumping around a little bit here. The connection between LinkedIn and Dynamics, is it a native integration? Can you share any other details on that?
Yeah. You know, there is not much information about it, not too much documentation how that happens. So we really don't have the time to show it now, and actually not prepared about anything around LinkedIn integration. But I've done something, and it is basically an API level integration. So you still work in LinkedIn from posting jobs, but then you see these in Talent, and Talent will call an API on LinkedIn to list these within all of the jobs available. But you leave Talent and then you go into LinkedIn when posting. And as you receive an application from LinkedIn, then LinkedIn will send the application to Talent, and then you can follow up on the application using Attract. So it's not a deep integration, it's at API level, which basically means the user experience is separate, but the tools talk to each other.
Okay. And how did you link Gauge with Attract? Someone wants to know.
Okay, I think the best way to do it is basically that from yes, discard this. Okay, one second. From the talent module from the dashboard. Here we go. If you start with it, you will basically define all the actions that you want your candidate to do, the touch point that I mentioned, and then you send by email. That's basically the action point. So you create this list of touch points, which are define when an interview has to be taken or answer some questions, and then you send by email. The employee or the candidate actually receive the email, and then they will follow back by clicking on the buttons in their email. They may open a browser or may not. So for example, if you have a questionnaire, the questionnaire will open in the browser, not in the email, obviously. But then that answer that you give will go back to the Attract module.
Okay. Someone wants to know if there's a link between an employee or a worker in Talent and an employee and the org chart and positions in Dynamics 365 for finance and operations. And the example given is that a salesperson in D365 needs to be set up there as an employee to get assigned to a sales order.
Yeah. Yes. So you manage all of the jobs, position, everything in the organization inside inside Talent. I don't know why it's not happening again. Okay, I'll get back to that later. But yes, so all your positions are in the organization, and all the roles as well, and then you define roles and positions by departments.
Okay, and that can be sort of that can reflect what's in finance and operations.
Ah, sorry, I missed that part. Correct. Yes. Okay, I see what you mean now. Because yes, you can define exactly the same also in AX, and then you see the same structure in Talent. Okay, I'm with you now. Yes, you can do that. Yep.
Can jobs and positions be used for Attract functionality?
No, not that I'm aware of at the moment. No, Attract works only on vacancies, so jobs that are advertised in LinkedIn and promoted to for hiring, for recruitment. After you make an offer to the employee, to the candidate becomes an employee, then you have to onboard them and put into a specific role and position. So the two things are disconnected at the moment.
If a customer has, say, 150 people in a specialist position, must they all have a license for Dynamics 365 for Talent?
If you want them to have the self-service, yes, you do. If not, they will not be able to access employee self-service. You can still see them as a user because they are in AD, but then you will have basically a top-down management. As an HR manager, you manage all your, or as a line manager, you manage all your department, but then they will not have an account to access talent.
Can you manage courses and room bookings for external customers?
You can manage vendors, so external providers of courses, as but not their catalog. So you have to import their catalog into Talent. So say that you buy something from, I don't know, don't want to make any promotion here, but Pluralsight, okay? And then you don't manage the Pluralsight catalog, but you need to recreate that course as a record in Talent. And then you reference Pluralsight as a vendor.
All right. For compensation, is there now a way to display a worker's rate of pay based on FTE instead of pay frequency attached to the fixed plan?
I need to get back to you. I don't do too much compensation, so I don't really know. I know that it wasn't the case to work as an FTE. There was a kind of assumption in the talent that as you are an employee, you work full time. I don't know if they have changed recently. I'll get back. I can dig some information out about it.
Okay, I'll mark that one.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So someone else just mentioned the overlap in functionality between D365 finance operations,
Yep.
or AX7 and talent. Is there a plan to remove the D365 finance and operations and replace it?
Very good question. No, I don't think so for the short time because talent is online only. So I don't think Microsoft is planning a server edition of talent. So if you are on AX, you get the HR process of AX on premises and talent will be cloud. Whether this is going to replace what is in operations, trick question. You know that the Microsoft roadmap for Dynamics 365 changes every month. It's a good question for Microsoft. Let me take a note of this and I will ask them when we meet at the next MVP product group interaction. We have a product group interaction every month. Something they may say, something they may not, because it's under NDA. We'll see. We'll see.
For the welcome guides, will Word and PDF be added in the future? Do you know?
Word you can copy and paste. PDF you can attach as a resource. You can attach any file, but they will be displayed as a link for now, which is probably good enough. If you want to put as a trackable activity, then we will need a plugin, and there is a plugin for PDF at the moment. But for Word, you can do copy and paste. So you basically copy the content into the guide, and it's quite accurate actually. It works pretty well. You have a good. It keeps the format good enough.
Is there a flow connector for talent publicly, or connectors for talent that are publicly available?
A connector to what?
To Flow. For talent.
To Flow. Yes, there should be. Yes, again, mark this question. I'll follow up. Okay. But basically, it's not necessary to be for talent because at the end you deal with a common data model. So as long as you can access the common data model, that's okay. But I can dig out some information, and maybe this is actually a good point for an article, Jason. It can be how to integrate Flow, talent with Flow.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And let's see here. So for email notifications, who will receive the notification? Can we use our org hierarchy, like managers and manager plus one scenarios, or can we use distribution lists?
Both. Yep. Both. Or you can go straight to the person. Yes. All supported. If you have organizational structure, you follow the organizational structure, distribution list, or straight to the individual.
Okay. Is there a data integrator? Is there data integrator talent templates on the roadmap? I guess this is related to the flow connector question.
So for now, I only done some integration with Flow using the common data service, the common data model, not anything specific to talent. But let me dig it out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Aaron notes there's been communication in other talent videos about integration with Microsoft Outlook. Are there any issues if someone else does not have Outlook for their email?
For emails, no really, because at the end is an SMTP server, all you need. For task, yes, you will not receive any task in Outlook.
Okay, so another question about finance and operations, which is separate. This question is different. So if someone has talent, if an org has talent and later adds D365 finance and operations, can they be fully integrated so that under the finance and operations side of it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So positions and roles that you define in operations, yes, then they can be migrated to Flow. But anything else like courses, performance, and anything else, I don't know. It's very early stage, and I don't know if there is much experience around it in terms of not migrating from AX to talent. But this is something that I can follow up with Microsoft. If they can give us some references, then they can share more information about this process.
Mobile users, do you know if Android and iOS is supported with the suitable browsers in those smartphones?
Well, yes, if you're building a Power App, then yes, for sure. That's not a problem. You can go on the device. Now, I don't know the minimum requirement, but very likely iOS 7 or 8 for sure, and Android since 4 or 5, then that's not a problem at all. But it's more a requirement on Power App than Talent itself. So yes, you can definitely go mobile.
Question on language support. Is it supported for Arabic?
I don't know. I really don't know. Mark this question, I'll follow up.
All right. And in terms of, we were talking about licensing before, a follow-up question, do you know if it's full license or team member in order to access the self-service?
Yeah. They're different between the administrator, so the HR admin, and the user. The pricing is online. So go to this here, dynamics.microsoft.com/talent. You can follow up the pricing. Is different whether you are an HR admin or an end user.
So someone who is using a web portal with AX for prospective candidates, can they set up an integration so that candidates can submit their CV and communicate or check status in a web portal?
Yeah, good point. No portal integration out of the box at the moment. But you know, if you are into programming, there is a public API, so why not?
Yeah, if you're feeling adventurous. Yeah. Okay, well that does appear to be all of our questions. Again, there are a few people asking about the recording and the slides. We will send follow-up information on how to get those.
Yeah, please send me the list of questions so I can follow up, and then I can try to answer as the best I can.
Certainly. Actually, let me just check for one other place here, or some people entered. Nope, I think we're good. Okay, great.
Good.
Stefano, thanks for taking the time to stay longer and answer all these questions. Much appreciated, and always great to have you back.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.